Right, so this is about Arduino. There are lots of different microprocessors around on the market. I didn't know much about any of them. I became introduced, I don't know how I got introduced to Arduino. One of the first things that I did though was I went on eBay and I bought an Arduino kit. And an Arduino kit basically is a box with an Arduino Uno controller sitting in the middle of it, and a whole lot of other things, a breadboard for connecting up wires, just so you can experiment. So that's one of the first things that I did, was to get one of those. The other thing that you do is you go to the Arduino homepage and you download the software onto your computer, so then your computer talks to the Arduino via a USB. You write a bit of script, which is like code, you upload it to the Arduino, and away it goes. It does its own thing. Now the funny thing about it is that most of the code that you want has already been written in one way or another. People write code endlessly, but I've got to tell you, I shouldn't say that so quickly, because the stuff that I wanted to do with the submarine was pretty unique. The first thing that I wanted was some code that I could put into the Arduino so that it would read from a receiver. That took me a long time to get. Why? I don't know. It seems so simple now, but I'd go onto the Arduino forum and say, this is what I want, and all these nerds would respond, and some of them are really aggressive. They're a bit abusive. Anyway, they just treat you like a fool, which potentially I am, and I'd say, I've only been doing this for 2 months, and they'd say, oh, but this isn't very good. Anyway, so eventually I got a nice block of code which interprets the input from, or the output from the receiver, which now goes into the Arduino. Some of that goes right through the Arduino, like to the forward hydroplane. The forward hydroplane just works as normal, unless I switch a switch in the Arduino, which turns it onto automatic and it's on depth keeping mode. It's fascinating stuff, I've got to say. So gradually, over a period of 3 months, I built up my script, and I added routine by routine to this whole thing, and then I'd add a routine and run it, and does it all work, and no, something may clash, so I gradually worked it all out. But it's not that hard. The project that I'm working right now on is simply you can buy a little compass and a small Arduino. The whole thing costs what? Costs 40 bucks. I'm going to put it in one of my boats so that when I press a particular button, it'll lock onto a particular bearing and hold it. It's as simple as that. You can literally do anything. So I got into this, I worked all of this through, and then I had to, because the Arduino Uno is quite a large little, well, I say large, it's small, but it's the playground, if you like. It's pretty hard to hurt. You can do anything to it. I wired it backwards once, doesn't really matter. But then I bought a small Arduino Nano, which is exactly the same as an Uno, but it's much, much smaller. And there are all sorts of hybrids. Now, I'm going to get into a bit of hot water here, I think, but I think the best thing to do is to get a genuine Arduino, or one that is described as being a genuine Arduino. You can get lots of Chinese clones, but honestly, to use a Chinese clone, you have to have a fair bit of knowledge about how to set it up properly. And I bought a couple, ended up selling them after a week of frustration. So don't go that way. Get something that's genuine Arduino, get something that you can just replace. An Arduino Nano is exactly the same as an Uno, but a lot smaller. And the other thing is, once I can plug my laptop into the Arduino Nano and reprogram it whenever I want, I can change things like depth settings and all sorts of things, which I've done, routine settings, etc. So getting back to the beginning, what I suggest you do is get a kit. Costs about $60 to $70. Then you go online, you download the software onto a laptop, not too hard, and then you go to a whole series of videos, and as I've said, I've listed them here, which will begin to show you how to work with an Uno. What you'll find straight away is that the very first program you want to, that they always get you to use, is one to blink a light on and off. That script has already been written and it's already actually in your program. There's a whole lot of programs, even ones for servos, that are actually already written, already there, that you can take and add to your script. And what you do is you take a script that's already written, then you change the timing of the flashing light, and suddenly you see it changes, and it gives you the very first hint that I can control this, I can get this to do whatever I want. So it's pretty exciting stuff. So it took me, I reckon, 4 or 5 months to get to the point where I had this working, but you have to realize this was quite a mammoth task. I mean, I was going on the forum and saying I want to be able to do this and that, and they were going, what, you know, model submarines, what? So I had a bit of trouble. One of the biggest difficulties was I wanted to run a routine which would respond to a double click jab on one of the transmitter arms. So it goes click, click, and suddenly it goes into a routine. It took me a long time to get a working script, and in the end this guy on the forum just said, try this. It was just this block of script, and I thought, I'm not even sure I understand it, but I put it on my thing and it works. It was just magnificent. You just need those sorts of helps along, because I'm not interested in trying to learn Arduino. I'm not interested in trying to learn the details of the scripting. Some of it I am, but basically I just want something to work, so I've got an end product. So there you go. I hope you find that helpful, and the links in particular.